The moment you shift from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking, everything changes. Instead of seeing other successful people as competition to be feared, you see them as potential allies to be courted. Instead of hoarding opportunities, you look for ways to share them with others who can multiply their value. Instead of protecting your knowledge, you freely share it with those who can use it to create mutual benefit. This abundance mindset is not naive generosity, it's strategic wisdom. When you help others achieve their definite purposes, you create a network of successful people who are naturally inclined to help you achieve yours. When you give others the opportunity to profit from your ideas, you create a vested interest in your success that no amount of money could buy. But abundance thinking requires a fundamental shift in how you view wealth itself. The 98% see wealth as a limited resource that must be hoarded and protected. They believe that someone else's gain is their loss, that opportunities are scarce, and that success is a zero-sum game where winners exist only at the expense of losers. The 2% understand that wealth is created, not redistributed. They know that every time someone solves a problem, meets a need, or improves a situation, new wealth comes into existence. They see opportunities everywhere because they understand that human needs and desires are infinite, and every unmet need represents a potential fortune for those who can meet it. Steve Jobs didn't become wealthy by taking money from other people. He became wealthy by creating products that people valued more than the money they exchanged for them. He understood that wealth is created through the transformation of ideas into products and services that improve people's lives. Every iPhone sold represented a mutual benefit. Customers received value that exceeded the price they paid, and Apple received profits that exceeded the cost of production. This is the fundamental principle that separates wealth creators from wealth redistributors. The 98% think in terms of getting their share of existing wealth. The 2% think in terms of creating new wealth by adding value to the world. The 98% focus on what they can extract from situations. The 2% focus on what they can contribute to situations. When you shift your focus from getting to giving, from extracting to contributing, from taking your share to creating new value, you align yourself with the fundamental laws that govern wealth creation. You begin operating from the level of consciousness that naturally attracts abundance because you're thinking in terms of abundance rather than scarcity. But this shift requires more than just intellectual understanding. It requires the complete restructuring of your mental habits. You must train your mind to automatically look for ways to add value in every situation, to see opportunities to serve in every interaction, and to find possibilities for mutual benefit in every relationship. The process begins with autosuggestion, the practice of deliberately programming your subconscious mind with thoughts and images that align with your definite purpose. This is not positive thinking or empty affirmations. It's the systematic replacement of old limiting thought patterns with new empowering ones that automatically move you toward wealth. Every morning and every evening, you must feed your mind with clear, specific, emotionally charged images of your definite purpose already achieved. You must see yourself in possession of the wealth you desire, feel the emotions you would experience if that wealth were already yours, and mentally rehearse the actions you would take from that position of abundance. This is not fantasy or wishful thinking, it's practical psychology. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined, so it accepts whatever you consistently present to it and begins working to make those mental images your physical reality. But the images must be specific, emotionally charged, and backed by burning desire and unwavering faith. The 98% either neglect this practice entirely or approach it half-heartedly, expecting results without commitment, wanting transformation without discipline. They repeat affirmations without emotion, visualize success without specificity, and wonder why their mental programming remains unchanged. The 2% approach autosuggestion with the same intensity they bring to their business activities. They understand that programming their subconscious mind is the most important work they do each day because it determines the quality of their thoughts, the direction of their actions, and ultimately the nature of their results. Autosuggestion works because it activates the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information and determines what you notice in your environment. When you consistently program your mind with images of wealth and success, your brain begins filtering reality to show you opportunities and possibilities that align with those images. John D. Rockefeller didn't stumble upon oil opportunities by accident. His mind was programmed to recognize them. His definite purpose created a mental filter that caused him to notice possibilities that others overlooked, to see value where others saw only problems, and to recognize the potential for organization and efficiency in an industry that others saw as chaotic and unpredictable. This is the practical power of deliberate mental programming. It doesn't create opportunities out of thin air, but it opens your eyes to opportunities that already exist but remain invisible to minds that aren't programmed to recognize them. It doesn't guarantee success, but it ensures that you'll recognize success when it presents itself and take action when action is required. The 98% wait for opportunities to find them. The 2% program their minds to find opportunities. The 98% react to circumstances as they appear. The 2% create circumstances through the quality of their thinking and the direction of their attention. But autosuggestion is only the beginning. Once you've programmed your subconscious mind with your definite purpose, you must translate that purpose into organized plans backed by persistent action. The 98% often get stuck in the planning phase, creating elaborate mental pictures of success while failing to take the concrete steps necessary to transform those pictures into reality. Planning without action is merely daydreaming. Action without planning is merely busy work. But planning combined with persistent action, guided by definite purpose and fueled by burning desire, becomes the unstoppable force that transforms thoughts into things, dreams into realities, and possibilities into certainties. Your plan doesn't have to be perfect. It only has to be specific enough to begin. Thomas Edison didn't have a complete blueprint for the incandescent light bulb when he started his experiments. He had a definite purpose, a burning desire to achieve it, and the flexibility to modify his plans as new information became available. The key is to begin with the knowledge you have while actively seeking the knowledge you need. The 98% wait until they have all the information before they start. The 2% start with the information they have and gather additional knowledge as they progress toward their objective. This is where organized planning becomes crucial. You must break your definite purpose down into specific, measurable, time-bound objectives. You must identify the knowledge you need to acquire, the people you need to meet, the resources you need to obtain, and the actions you need to take. You must create a step-by-step roadmap from where you are to where you want to be. But your plan must remain flexible because conditions change, new opportunities arise, and better methods reveal themselves as you progress toward your goal. The 98% create rigid plans and abandon them at the first sign of obstacles. The 2% create flexible plans and adapt them as conditions require, while maintaining unwavering commitment to their definite purpose. Henry Ford's original plan was to build a car that was reliable and affordable. But as he gained experience in manufacturing, his plan evolved to include the assembly line concept that revolutionized production methods. His definite purpose remained constant, but his plans adapted to incorporate new knowledge and changing conditions. This flexibility in planning, combined with rigidity in purpose, is the hallmark of all successful people. They know exactly where they're going, but remain open to discovering better ways to get there. They're committed to their destination, but flexible about their route. The 98% reverse this formula. They're flexible about their purposes, changing goals whenever obstacles appear, but rigid about their methods, stubbornly pursuing outdated strategies even when they're clearly not working. They abandon their dreams at the first sign of difficulty, but cling to failing approaches long after their ineffectiveness has been proven. But even the best plans are worthless without the persistence to execute them through every obstacle, setback, and temporary defeat. This is where the majority of people fail. They begin with enthusiasm, encounter their first serious resistance, and abandon their efforts just when persistence would have carried them through to success. Colonel Sanders faced over 1,000 rejections before finding a restaurant willing to try his chicken recipe. The 98% would have quit after the first dozen rejections, concluding that their idea wasn't viable. But Sanders understood that persistence is the insurance policy that guarantees eventual success to those who refuse to quit. Persistence is not blind stubbornness, it's intelligent tenacity guided by definite purpose and informed by continuous learning. When you encounter obstacles, you don't abandon your definite purpose, you modify your approach. When you face setbacks, you don't question your destination, you adjust your route. When you experience temporary defeat, you don't accept permanent failure, you extract the lessons and apply them to your next attempt. The difference between temporary defeat and permanent failure exists only in your mind. Temporary defeat is feedback that tells you your current approach isn't working and motivates you to find a better way. Permanent failure is a decision to stop trying, to accept defeat as final, and to abandon your definite purpose. Every great fortune has been built on the foundation of temporary defeats that were transformed into stepping stones through the alchemy of persistence. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no good ideas. His first animation company went bankrupt. His early cartoon character was stolen by his business partner. But each setback only strengthened his resolve and clarified his vision of what he wanted to create. When you understand that temporary defeat is not permanent failure, but rather tuition paid to the University of Experience, your entire relationship with obstacles changes. Instead of seeing them as evidence that success is impossible, you see them as proof that you're in the game, that you're pushing against the boundaries of your current capabilities, and that you're growing stronger with each challenge overcome. The 98% personalize their setbacks, interpreting them as evidence of their inadequacy or proof that success isn't meant for them. The 2% depersonalize their setbacks, viewing them as natural consequences of attempting something significant and valuable feedback for improving their approach. This shift in perspective is crucial because your interpretation of events determines your emotional response, and your emotional response determines the quality of your decisions and actions. When you interpret setbacks as personal failures, you experience emotions that weaken your resolve and cloud your judgment. When you interpret setbacks as valuable feedback, you experience emotions that strengthen your determination and clarify your thinking. Thomas Edison didn't experience 10,000 failures, he discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work. This wasn't just clever wordplay, it was a fundamental difference in how he processed and learned from his experiences. Each unsuccessful experiment brought him closer to the successful one by eliminating possibilities and revealing new approaches. Napoleon Hill discovered this principle while studying the wealthy industrialists of his era. He noticed that they regularly associated with each other, sharing ideas, resources, and opportunities. They formed what he called mastermind alliances, formal and informal groups of like-minded individuals who supported each other's success and benefited from each other's knowledge and connections. These alliances weren't based on charity or goodwill. They were based on mutual benefit and shared value creation. Each member brought unique knowledge, skills, or resources to the group, and everyone benefited from the combined wisdom and power of the alliance. The whole became greater than the sum of its parts. But forming these alliances requires that you first have something valuable to contribute. You can't join a mastermind of successful people if you haven't developed knowledge, skills, or resources that benefit the other members. This is why personal development must precede financial development, why you must become before you can receive, and why the quality of your associations reflects the quality of your own character and capabilities. The process begins with the decision to invest in yourself more aggressively than you invest in anything else. Your mind is your most valuable asset, and the knowledge you acquire, the skills you develop, and the mental habits you cultivate will determine your earning capacity more than any external factor. The 98% invest more in their entertainment than their education, more in their appearance than their abilities, more in their comfort than their growth. They treat learning as something they did in school rather than as a lifelong necessity for success. They assume their current knowledge is sufficient and wonder why their results remain limited. The 2% are learning machines. They read voraciously, study constantly, and seek out new knowledge with the same intensity that others seek entertainment. They understand that in a rapidly changing world, the shelf life of knowledge is getting shorter, and only those who continuously update their mental software will remain competitive. If you're committed to becoming a lifelong learner and investing in your mind more than anything else, write in the comments below "lifelong learner" and share your commitment to continuous growth. But it's not just about acquiring information, it's about transforming that information into practical wisdom through application and experience. Knowledge without action is sterile. Action without knowledge is dangerous. But knowledge combined with persistent action, guided by definite purpose and fueled by burning desire, becomes the unstoppable force that creates wealth. Every wealthy person Hill studied was a voracious learner who treated their mind as their most important business asset. They read books, attended seminars, sought mentors, and continuously exposed themselves to new ideas and better methods. They understood that the person who stops learning stops earning, and that intellectual growth must precede financial growth. But they didn't just consume knowledge, they applied it immediately and aggressively. They understood that knowledge becomes power only when it's organized into definite plans and expressed through action. They tested new concepts against reality, refined their understanding through experience, and built their expertise through consistent practice. The moment you commit to becoming a lifelong learner, your value in the marketplace begins to increase. Knowledge that's relevant to your definite purpose becomes like compound interest. It builds upon itself, creating exponential rather than linear growth in your capabilities and earning power. Sam Walton didn't start with superior knowledge of retail. He developed it by studying every successful retailer he could find, adapting their best practices to his own stores, and continuously experimenting with new approaches. His competitive advantage wasn't his starting knowledge, but his commitment to learning faster than his competitors and applying that learning more effectively. This commitment to continuous learning must be matched by an equally strong commitment to continuous action. The 98% often fall into what Hill called analysis paralysis. They study endlessly but never act decisively. They want to know everything before they risk anything, never understanding that knowledge without application atrophies while knowledge combined with action multiplies. The 2% operate on what could be called the ready, fire, aim principle. They gather enough information to make intelligent decisions, take action quickly, then adjust their aim based on the results they achieve. They understand that perfect information is never available and that waiting for certainty is just another form of procrastination. This bias toward action doesn't mean reckless behavior. It means calculated risk-taking based on the best information available. It means being willing to act on incomplete information while remaining flexible enough to change course when new information becomes available. It means understanding that inaction is often riskier than action because opportunities have expiration dates. The shocking truth Hill discovered is that most people are not held back by lack of opportunity. They're held back by lack of decision. They see possibilities but fail to act on them. They recognize good ideas but don't implement them. They know what they should do but find reasons to postpone doing it. They live in the gap between knowing and doing, between intention and action, between possibility and reality. But persistence alone is not enough. It must be combined with the willingness to learn from every experience, to adapt your methods based on new information, and to continuously improve your skills and knowledge. The 98% often mistake stubbornness for persistence, repeating the same ineffective actions and expecting different results. True persistence involves what Hill called accurate thinking, the ability to separate facts from opinions, to distinguish between what you know and what you assume, and to base your decisions on evidence rather than emotion. It means constantly questioning your assumptions, testing your theories against reality, and being willing to abandon approaches that aren't producing results. The wealthy develop what could be called failure immunity, not because they don't experience setbacks, but because they've trained their minds to extract value from every experience regardless of its immediate outcome. They understand that success is not the absence of failure, but the intelligent application of lessons learned from failure. This mental conditioning doesn't happen overnight. It's developed through consistent practice, deliberate exposure to challenges, and the conscious choice to interpret difficulties as opportunities for growth, rather than evidence of limitation. Every time you persist through a setback, extract a lesson from a failure, or maintain your vision despite temporary defeat, you strengthen this mental muscle and increase your capacity for eventual success. Ray Kroc faced numerous obstacles in building the McDonald's franchise system. Suppliers didn't take him seriously. Potential franchisees questioned his methods, and financial experts doubted his business model. But each obstacle forced him to refine his approach, strengthen his systems, and clarify his vision. The resistance he encountered didn't weaken his concept, it made it stronger. This is the paradox of wealth creation. The obstacles that seem designed to stop you are actually designed to strengthen you. They force you to develop skills you wouldn't otherwise acquire, create systems you wouldn't otherwise need, and build character you wouldn't otherwise possess. The person who achieves significant wealth is not the same person who began the journey. The challenges encountered along the way transform them into someone capable of handling the responsibilities that wealth demands. The 98% want the wealth without the transformation. They want the bank account without becoming the person worthy of that bank account. They want the results without developing the character, skills, and mental conditioning that create and sustain those results. They see obstacles as unfair barriers rather than necessary training that prepares them for greater responsibility. But wealth is not just about accumulating money, it's about developing the capacity to create and manage value on an ever-increasing scale. Every challenge you overcome increases this capacity. Every obstacle you navigate strengthens your problem-solving abilities. Every setback you transform into a comeback builds the resilience necessary to handle bigger challenges and greater opportunities. The moment you embrace this perspective, your entire relationship with difficulty changes. Instead of avoiding challenges, you begin seeking them because you understand they're the price of admission to higher levels of achievement. Instead of resenting obstacles, you begin appreciating them because you know they're developing capabilities you'll need for future success. Andrew Carnegie embraced this philosophy completely. When steel prices collapsed and competitors went out of business, Carnegie saw opportunity to acquire their assets at bargain prices and gain market share. When labor disputes threatened his operations, he used the downtime to modernize his equipment and improve his processes. When economic recessions reduced demand, he prepared for the recovery by investing in research and development. This is the mental attitude that separates wealth creators from wealth complainers. Instead of being victims of circumstances, they become masters of circumstances. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "How can I turn this to my advantage?" Instead of waiting for conditions to improve, they improve themselves so they're ready when conditions change. But this transformation requires more than just changing your thinking. It requires changing your associations. The people you spend time with have a profound influence on your thoughts, your beliefs, and your expectations. If you surround yourself with people who think small, complain constantly, and blame their circumstances for their results, you'll inevitably absorb their mental attitudes and produce similar results. The 98% often resist changing their associations because they don't want to hurt feelings or lose approval. They'd rather maintain comfortable relationships that reinforce their limitations than seek challenging relationships that expand their possibilities. They prize loyalty over growth, comfort over development, and agreement over achievement. The 2% understand that your associations are among your most important assets. They deliberately seek relationships with people who think bigger, dream larger, and achieve more than they currently do. They understand that iron sharpens iron, that excellence is contagious, and that your income will rarely exceed the average income of your 5 closest friends. This doesn't mean abandoning old friends or becoming elitist. It means expanding your circle to include people who inspire you to become better, who challenge your thinking, and who model the kind of success you want to achieve. It means spending more time with people who are where you want to be, and less time with people who are where you don't want to stay. When you associate with people who have achieved what you want to achieve, several important things happen. First, you realize that successful people are not superhuman. They're ordinary people who have developed extraordinary mental habits. Second, you absorb their ways of thinking, their problem-solving approaches, and their success strategies through observation and conversation. Third, you gain access to opportunities, connections, and resources that aren't available in less successful circles. But decision is the dividing line between the 98% and the 2%. The moment you decide to commit fully to your definite purpose, to persist through every obstacle, and to learn from every experience, you cross the invisible boundary that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. This decision cannot be tentative or conditional. It must be final, irrevocable, and backed by the willingness to stake everything on your ability to create value in the world. It's the kind of decision that Cortés made when he burned his ships, eliminating the possibility of retreat and forcing his men to succeed or perish in the attempt. When your decision is final and your commitment is total, something remarkable happens to your mental state. Doubt disappears because there's no alternative to consider. Fear subsides because you've already accepted the risks and committed to facing them. Procrastination becomes impossible because delay only increases the pain of remaining where you are. J.P. Morgan made this kind of decision when he chose to reorganize failing railroads rather than simply invest in successful ones. He committed his reputation, his resources, and his future to the belief that he could create value where others saw only problems. His decision wasn't based on guarantees. It was based on faith in his ability to execute his vision regardless of obstacles. The decision to pursue wealth is really a decision to become the kind of person who naturally attracts and creates wealth. It's a decision to develop the mental habits, the character traits, and the practical skills that make you valuable to others and valuable to yourself. It's a decision to transform yourself from someone who hopes for success to someone who creates success through organized effort and intelligent action. But this transformation cannot happen in isolation. You need what Hill called applied faith, not just belief in your eventual success, but faith expressed through consistent action in alignment with natural laws. You need to act as if your success is inevitable, while working as if it depends entirely on your effort. This paradox is at the heart of all great achievement. You must have complete faith in your eventual success to sustain you through temporary defeats, but you must take complete responsibility for creating that success through the quality of your daily actions. You must believe in forces beyond your control while exercising total control over forces within your influence. The wealthy understand this balance completely. They have absolute faith in universal principles while taking absolute responsibility for applying those principles correctly. They trust the process while working the process. They believe in inevitable success while preparing for inevitable challenges. When you achieve this balance between faith and responsibility, between trust and action, between believing and working, you align yourself with what Hill called the law of compensation, the natural principle that ensures you receive in proportion to what you give. Not immediately, not always in the form you expect, but eventually and abundantly for those who persist in serving others while pursuing their definite purpose. This law operates as precisely as any physical law. When you consistently provide value to others, that value returns to you multiplied. When you help others achieve their goals, they become invested in helping you achieve yours. When you contribute to the success of your community contributes to your success. But the 98% often reverse this formula. They focus on what they can get before considering what they can give. They seek value before providing value. They want others to invest in their success before they invest in others' success. They approach every relationship and opportunity with the question, what's in it for me, rather than what can I contribute? The 2% instinctively understand that the universe operates on the principle of circulation, that wealth flows to those who keep it flowing. Opportunities multiply for those who create opportunities for others, and success expands for those who help others succeed. They give first, knowing that receiving is the natural consequence of giving value. This doesn't mean giving indiscriminately or working for free. It means leading with value, contributing before asking for contributions, and focusing on creating mutual benefit rather than one-sided advantage. It means approaching every situation with the question, how can I make this better for everyone involved, rather than how can I extract maximum benefit for myself? When you operate from this mindset, several things happen automatically. People are naturally drawn to you because you make their lives better rather than more difficult. Opportunities multiply because you create value that others want to support and participate in. Resources flow to you because you use them in ways that benefit not just yourself but everyone involved in your success. This is the secret that separates those who achieve temporary success from those who build lasting wealth. Temporary success can be achieved through manipulation, exploitation, or sheer force of will. But lasting wealth requires the creation of genuine value that continues to benefit others long after the initial transaction is complete. Henry Ford's wealth wasn't built on exploiting workers or customers. It was built on creating an automobile that improved millions of lives while providing good jobs for thousands of employees. Walt Disney's fortune wasn't created by taking advantage of children. It was created by producing entertainment that brought joy to families around the world. Andrew Carnegie's steel empire wasn't built on depleting resources. It was built on providing the raw materials that allowed America to build its infrastructure. Every great fortune in history has been built on this foundation of mutual benefit and genuine value creation. The moment you align your definite purpose with the creation of genuine value for others, you tap into forces that extend far beyond your individual abilities and resources. But this alignment requires more than good intentions. It requires the discipline to consistently choose service over selfishness, contribution over extraction, and long-term value creation over short-term advantage. It requires the wisdom to see beyond immediate gratification and the character to keep your commitments even when no one is watching. The development of this character is not separate from the development of wealth. It's the foundation upon which all lasting wealth is built. The qualities that create wealth, integrity, persistence, creativity, service, leadership, are the same qualities that sustain wealth and make it a positive force in the world. As you stand at this moment, reading these words, you have the same power that created every fortune in history. You have a mind capable of conceiving definite purpose, a heart capable of generating burning desire, and hands capable of taking persistent action. The only question is whether you'll use these gifts to join the 2% who create wealth or remain among the 98% who wonder why wealth seems to elude them. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Not someday when conditions are perfect, not tomorrow when you have more knowledge, not next year when you're more prepared. Now in this moment, with whatever knowledge you have, whatever resources you possess, and whatever circumstances surround you, the shocking truth Napoleon Hill discovered is that wealth is not reserved for the chosen few. It's available to anyone willing to pay the price in mental discipline, organized effort, and persistent action. The price is not monetary, it's psychological. It's the willingness to think differently, to act courageously, and to persist when others quit. If you're ready to pay the psychological price for wealth through mental discipline and persistent action, write in the comments below, "I choose wealth," and declare your commitment to joining the 2%. You have everything you need to begin this transformation right now. The question is not whether you can achieve wealth. The question is whether you will. The principles are available, the path is clear, and the only obstacle between you and your definite purpose is the decision to begin and the commitment to persist until that purpose becomes your reality. The 98% will read these words and do nothing. They'll find reasons why it won't work for them, why their situation is different, why success is for other people. They'll return to their comfortable limitations and their familiar excuses, never realizing that they held the key to their own transformation in their hands. But you're not among the 98%. Something inside you recognizes the truth in these principles and the power of these concepts. Something within you refuses to accept mediocrity as your permanent condition. Something in your spirit knows that you were created for greatness and that your definite purpose is waiting for you to claim it. The moment you make that claim, the moment you commit fully to your transformation, the moment you decide that your current circumstances are your starting point rather than your final destination, that moment changes everything. That moment is the beginning of your journey from the 98% to the 2%, from limitation to abundance, from hoping for wealth to creating wealth through organized effort and definite purpose. Your time is now. Your moment is here. Your transformation begins with your next decision. Choose wisely, act boldly, and persist until your definite purpose becomes your lived reality. The world is waiting for the value only you can create, and your wealth is the natural reward for creating that value excellently, consistently, and with genuine care for those you serve. This is Napoleon Hill's shocking truth. Wealth is not an accident, a lottery, or a privilege reserved for others. It's your birthright, waiting to be claimed through the disciplined application of universal principles that work for anyone willing to work with them. The only question remaining is whether you'll begin today or spend another day among the 98% who know what to do but never do what they know. The choice and the power to choose has always been yours. Why 98% of people never get rich. Napoleon Hill's shocking truth. There's a moment in every person's life when they stand at the crossroads of mediocrity and greatness, staring into the abyss of their own potential. Most people blink. They turn away from that reflection, choosing the comfort of the familiar over the uncertainty of transformation. They join the 98% who will live and die without ever tasting true wealth, without ever unlocking the vault of abundance that lies dormant within their own minds. But you're here listening to these words, which means something inside you refuses to accept that fate. Something within you recognizes that wealth isn't just about money, it's about the complete mastery of your mental faculties, the deliberate cultivation of your thoughts, and the unwavering commitment to a definite purpose that burns so bright it illuminates every shadow of doubt. Napoleon Hill spent 25 years studying the wealthiest individuals of his time, dissecting the anatomy of success, and what he discovered wasn't a secret formula locked away in some exclusive vault. It was a shocking truth so simple, so fundamental, that most people dismiss it as too basic to be powerful. The truth is this: the difference between the 2% who achieve extraordinary wealth and the 98% who struggle isn't talent, luck, or connections. It's the quality of their thinking and their absolute commitment to definite purpose. Your mind is the most sophisticated wealth-generating machine ever created, yet 98% of people treat it like a broken radio, tuning into every frequency of fear, doubt, and limitation that broadcasts through their environment. They allow their thoughts to drift like leaves in the wind, carried by whatever current of negativity or distraction happens to blow their way. They've never learned the first principle of wealth creation, that riches begin in the mind, and poverty is nothing more than a mental disease that spreads through undisciplined thinking. Consider Thomas Edison, hunched over his workbench in Menlo Park, failing for the 10,000th time to create a practical incandescent light bulb. The 98% would have called him insane, would have pointed to his failures as proof that his dream was impossible. But Edison understood something they didn't, that failure is nothing more than feedback, and persistence coupled with definite purpose is the alchemy that transmutes temporary defeat into permanent victory. He didn't see 10,000 failures. He saw 10,000 ways that didn't work, bringing him closer to the one way that would change the world forever. The shocking truth Hill uncovered is that most people never develop a definite purpose. They drift through life like ships without anchors, blown about by every storm of circumstance, never understanding that they possess the power to chart their own course. They mistake wishing for wanting, hoping for believing, and dreaming for planning. They live in the twilight between sleep and awakening, never fully committing to the transformation that wealth demands. Wealth is not an accident. It's not a lottery ticket or a roll of the dice. It's the inevitable result of applied thought, sustained action, and unwavering faith in your ability to create value in the world. But here's where 98% of people stumble. They want the results without the transformation. They want the bank account without becoming the person worthy of that bank account. They want the lifestyle without adopting the mindset that created that lifestyle. Henry Ford revolutionized transportation, not because he was the smartest man in Detroit, but because he possessed something far more valuable, an unshakable belief in his vision and the mental discipline to hold that vision steady, despite every voice that told him it was impossible. When financial experts laughed at his assembly line concept, when competitors dismissed his vision of affordable automobiles for the masses, Ford's mind remained locked onto his definite purpose like a compass needle pointing true north. The moment you understand that your thoughts are the raw materials of your reality, everything changes. Every wealthy person Hill studied had mastered this fundamental truth. Thoughts backed by definite purpose and unwavering faith become the magnetic force that attracts the people, resources, and opportunities necessary for wealth creation. But the 98% treat their minds like garbage dumps, filling them with the mental refuse of negativity, doubt, and limitation. Your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. It accepts whatever you consistently feed it and works 24 hours a day to make those mental images your physical reality. The wealthy understand this principle and deliberately program their subconscious with images of success, abundance, and achievement. The 98% unconsciously program theirs with images of struggle, limitation, and defeat, then wonder why their lives reflect exactly what they've been mentally rehearsing. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who became one of the wealthiest men in history, understood that individual effort alone has limitations, but the coordinated effort of like-minded individuals creates exponential power. He surrounded himself with people whose knowledge complemented his own, creating what Hill called a mastermind alliance, a meeting of minds that generates energy and ideas beyond what any single mind could produce. The 98% surround themselves with people who think small, dream small, and achieve small results. They seek comfort in the company of others who share their limitations, creating echo chambers of mediocrity where their excuses are validated and their fears are reinforced. They never understand that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and if those 5 people are broke in their thinking, you'll be broke in your results. But something extraordinary happens when you align your thoughts with definite purpose. Your mind becomes like a radio transmitter, broadcasting on the frequency of success, and suddenly you begin attracting people, ideas, and opportunities that resonate with that frequency. This isn't mystical thinking, it's the practical application of mental laws that operate as precisely as physical laws. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy, ridicule, and the complete collapse of his first animation company. The 98% would have seen this as proof that dreams don't pay the bills. But Disney understood that temporary defeat is not permanent failure, and that every setback contains the seed of equivalent benefit for those who maintain unwavering faith in their vision. He transformed his greatest failure into the foundation for an entertainment empire that continues to inspire millions decades after his death. The shocking truth is that most people are sleepwalking through life, unconscious of the incredible power that lies dormant within their own minds. They've been conditioned to believe that wealth is for other people, people who are smarter, luckier, or more connected. They've accepted limitation as their natural state and struggle as their inevitable destiny. They've never learned that poverty is a mental disease that can be cured by changing the quality of their thoughts. Every morning you wake up with the same choice that faced every wealthy person in history. Will you think thoughts that move you toward wealth, or will you think thoughts that keep you trapped in limitation? Will you feed your mind with images of success and abundance, or will you continue the mental diet of lack and struggle that keeps 98% of people poor? The transformation begins the moment you accept complete responsibility for your mental life. No more blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck. No more waiting for conditions to improve or for someone else to change your situation. The moment you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your destiny. Abraham Lincoln, born in a one-room log cabin to illiterate parents, could have accepted poverty as his permanent condition. Instead, he understood that his mind was his greatest asset and his thoughts were his most valuable currency. He fed his mind with great books, elevated his thinking through constant learning, and maintained an unwavering belief in his ability to rise above his circumstances. He didn't just change his own life, he changed the course of human history. This is the shocking truth Hill discovered. Wealth is not about what you have, it's about who you become. It's not about external accumulation, it's about internal transformation. The 98% focus on getting, the 2% focus on becoming. The 98% chase money, the 2% develop the mental and spiritual qualities that make them magnetic to money. Your thoughts are not just random electrical impulses firing in your brain, they are creative forces that shape your reality with mathematical precision. When you think thoughts of wealth, abundance, and success with definite purpose and unwavering faith, you set in motion forces that will manifest those thoughts in your physical experience. But when you think thoughts of lack, limitation, and failure, you set in motion forces that will manifest those conditions just as surely. The wealthy understand that their minds are gardens that must be carefully tended. They plant only seeds of success, water them with faith and persistence, and ruthlessly weed out any thoughts that don't serve their definite purpose. The 98% allow their mental gardens to become overgrown with the weeds of negative thinking, then wonder why they harvest crops of disappointment and struggle. John D. Rockefeller didn't stumble into wealth by accident. He began with a definite purpose to organize the oil industry and create unprecedented value for consumers. He held this vision with such clarity and conviction that it guided every decision, attracted the right people, and magnetized the resources necessary to build Standard Oil into one of the largest companies in history. His wealth was the natural byproduct of his organized thinking and definite purpose. The moment you clarify your definite purpose and commit to it with burning desire, your entire being aligns with that purpose. Your conscious mind becomes focused, your subconscious mind begins working to attract the means of achievement, and your actions become coordinated toward a single objective. This is the state of mind that separates the 2% from the 98% total alignment between thought, emotion, and action in service of a definite purpose. If you're ready to clarify your definite purpose and commit to it with burning desire, write in the comments below definite purpose and declare your commitment to mental alignment. But here's where most people fail. They want the wealth without the responsibility that wealth demands. They want the freedom without the discipline that freedom requires. They want the results without the transformation that results necessitate. They want to remain the same person and somehow achieve different outcomes, never understanding that you can't have what you're not willing to become. Wealth consciousness is not about positive thinking or empty affirmations. It's about the complete reorganization of your mental faculties around definite purpose. It's about developing unshakable faith in your ability to create value in the world. It's about cultivating the mental habits that automatically move you toward your objectives regardless of temporary setbacks or external circumstances. The 98% live in reaction mode, responding to whatever circumstances present themselves, allowing external conditions to dictate their internal state. They wake up each morning and ask, "What's going to happen to me today?" The 2% live in creation mode, deliberately designing their circumstances, using their internal state to influence external conditions. They wake up each morning and declare, "What am I going to make happen today?" This shift from reactive to creative thinking is the first transformation that must occur before wealth can manifest. You must stop being a thermometer that reflects the temperature of your environment and become a thermostat that sets the temperature of your environment. You must stop allowing circumstances to shape your thoughts and start using your thoughts to shape your circumstances. Colonel Sanders was 65 years old, broke, and living on Social Security when he decided to franchise his fried chicken recipe. The 98% would have seen his age and circumstances as insurmountable obstacles. They would have accepted defeat and resigned themselves to poverty in their golden years. But Sanders understood that age is not a barrier to wealth creation. Limited thinking is. He approached over 1,000 restaurants before finding one willing to try his recipe, facing rejection after rejection with unwavering persistence. What sustained him through all that rejection? Definite purpose. He knew exactly what he wanted to achieve and why he wanted to achieve it. His purpose burned so brightly that it illuminated a path through every obstacle, transformed every rejection into a step closer to acceptance, and ultimately built Kentucky Fried Chicken into a global empire. The shocking truth is that most people never clarify what they really want. They have vague wishes, general hopes, and undefined dreams, but they never crystallize these into definite purposes backed by burning desire. They say they want to be wealthy, but they can't tell you exactly how much wealth they want, by what date they plan to have it, or what they're willing to give in return for it. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all wealth creation. Until you know exactly what you want, why you want it, and what you're willing to sacrifice to get it, your mind has no clear target to focus on. Your thoughts scatter in 1,000 directions, your energy dissipates, and your actions lack the concentrated power necessary to overcome resistance and achieve extraordinary results. But the moment you clarify your definite purpose and write it down with specific details, exactly how much wealth you want, the exact date you plan to have it, and the exact value you plan to give in return, something magical happens. Your mind locks onto that target like a guided missile, and every faculty of your being aligns to make that purpose your reality. The subconscious mind is like a garden that will grow whatever seeds you plant. If you plant seeds of definite purpose backed by burning desire, it will work 24 hours a day to germinate those seeds into physical reality. But if you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, it will work just as diligently to manifest those conditions in your life. Charles Schwab built a steel empire not because he was the most technically skilled man in the industry, but because he understood the power of organized thinking and definite purpose. He could see possibilities where others saw only problems, opportunities where others saw only obstacles. His mind was trained to find solutions, to create value, and to turn challenges into stepping stones toward greater achievement. The 98% have trained their minds to focus on problems, to see obstacles as permanent barriers, and to find reasons why their goals are impossible. They've developed what Hill called a failure consciousness, a mental state that automatically attracts failure, lack, and disappointment. Their thoughts are dominated by what they don't want, what they can't do, and why success is impossible for someone like them. Your mind cannot simultaneously focus on success and failure, wealth and poverty, abundance and lack. It can only hold one dominant thought at a time, and whichever thought you feed with your attention, emotion, and repetition becomes your mental programming. The wealthy have trained their minds to focus exclusively on their definite purpose and the means of achieving it. The poor have trained their minds to focus on their problems and the reasons those problems can't be solved. Every thought you think is either an investment in your success or a deposit in your failure account. Every mental image you create is either programming your subconscious for wealth or programming it for poverty. Every word you speak is either affirming your power to create abundance or confirming your limitations and excuses. The transformation from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness requires the same discipline that an athlete uses to train their body. You must exercise your mind deliberately, consistently, and with unwavering commitment to your definite purpose. You must become the guardian of your own thoughts, allowing only those mental visitors that serve your objectives and refusing entry to those that would sabotage your success. Thomas Edison understood this principle completely. When his laboratory burned down in 1914, destroying millions of dollars worth of equipment and years of research, he didn't waste a single moment on regret or despair. Instead, he told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." He understood that dwelling on loss only creates more loss, but focusing on possibility creates opportunity. The next morning, Edison was already making plans to rebuild, and many of his greatest inventions came from the new laboratory that rose from the ashes of the old one. This is the mental attitude that separates the 2% from the 98%, the ability to find opportunity in every setback, possibility in every problem, and stepping stones in every stumbling block. Your current circumstances are not your final destination, they're simply your starting point. Every wealthy person in history started exactly where you are now, with a mind capable of conceiving definite purpose and the potential to transform that purpose into physical reality. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is not luck, connections, or special advantages. It's the quality of your thinking and your commitment to mental discipline. The 98% are waiting for their circumstances to change before they change their thinking. They're waiting for more money before they develop wealth consciousness, waiting for better opportunities before they prepare themselves to recognize opportunities, waiting for success to find them instead of developing the mental qualities that create success. But wealth doesn't work that way. Wealth flows to those who have prepared their minds to receive it, who have developed the consciousness that naturally attracts it, and who have aligned their thoughts, emotions, and actions with definite purpose. You must become wealthy in your thinking before you can become wealthy in your bank account. Henry Ford revolutionized manufacturing not because he had more resources than his competitors, but because he had developed a different quality of thinking. While others saw complexity, he saw simplicity. While others saw limitations, he saw possibilities. While others saw problems, he saw solutions waiting to be discovered. His assembly line concept was ridiculed by experts who couldn't see beyond conventional methods, but Ford's mind was locked onto his definite purpose: to make automobiles affordable for the average person. This purpose guided every innovation, attracted the right people to help him achieve it, and ultimately transformed not just his company, but the entire industrial landscape. The moment you commit to definite purpose with burning desire, you tap into a power that transcends your individual limitations. You connect with what Hill called infinite intelligence, the universal source of all knowledge, creativity, and inspiration. Your mind becomes a receiving station for ideas, insights, and opportunities that seem to come from beyond your conscious thinking. This is not mystical speculation, it's practical psychology. When your mind is focused on definite purpose, your subconscious begins scanning your environment for anything that relates to that purpose. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but invisible to your unfocused attention. You begin attracting people whose knowledge complements your own. You develop insights and inspirations that seem to come from nowhere but actually emerge from the depths of your focused mind. The 98% never experience this phenomenon because their minds are scattered, their purposes are vague, and their desire lacks the intensity necessary to activate these higher mental faculties. They live on the surface of their mental potential, never diving deep enough to discover the treasures that lie in the depths of focused thinking. But when you develop burning desire for your definite purpose, desire so intense that it dominates your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you unlock mental powers that seem almost supernatural. You begin operating from a level of consciousness that most people never access, a level where solutions appear automatically, where opportunities multiply, and where the seemingly impossible becomes inevitable. This burning desire is not wanting or wishing or hoping. It's a consuming passion that makes your definite purpose more real to you than your current circumstances. It's the kind of desire that kept Edison working through 10,000 failures, that drove Ford to revolutionize manufacturing, that sustained Disney through bankruptcy and ridicule. Napoleon Bonaparte understood this principle when he declared, "Impossible is a word found only in the dictionary of fools." He didn't mean that everything is possible through wishful thinking. He meant that what appears impossible to ordinary minds becomes possible when extraordinary desire meets definite purpose and persistent action. The 98% allow their desires to be diluted by the opinions of others, weakened by temporary setbacks, and extinguished by the first sign of serious resistance. They want success, but they want comfort more. They want wealth, but they want the approval of mediocre minds more. They want to achieve great things, but they want to avoid the risks and responsibilities that great achievement requires. The 2% understand that burning desire is the fuel that powers all achievement. Without it, knowledge is powerless, opportunity is invisible, and obstacles become insurmountable. With it, lack of knowledge becomes motivation to learn, missed opportunities become lessons in preparation, and obstacles become challenges that strengthen character and build skills. Consider Ray Kroc, who at age 52 was struggling as a traveling milkshake machine salesman when he encountered the McDonald Brothers small restaurant in California. The 98% would have seen a couple of guys making hamburgers, but Kroc's mind, focused on definite purpose and fired by burning desire, saw a revolutionary business model that could transform the food service industry. He didn't have the capital to buy the franchise rights, he didn't have restaurant experience, he didn't have the support of financial experts who thought his idea was foolish, but he had something far more valuable: absolute faith in his vision and unwavering commitment to making it reality. He mortgaged his home, borrowed against his life insurance, and risked everything to pursue his definite purpose. That's the level of commitment that wealth demands. Not gambling or reckless speculation, but the willingness to stake everything on your ability to create value in the world. The 98% want guarantees before they act. The 2% create guarantees through the quality of their commitment and the intensity of their desire. Faith is not blind belief or hopeful thinking. It's the mental attitude that knows with absolute certainty that your definite purpose will manifest in physical reality because you're willing to persist until it does. It's the quiet confidence that comes from understanding the laws that govern success and aligning your actions with those laws. When you develop this kind of faith, something remarkable happens to your entire being. Your posture changes. Your voice carries conviction. Your actions become coordinated and purposeful. You begin attracting people who want to be part of your vision, opportunities that align with your purpose, and resources that seemed impossible to obtain when you operated from doubt and uncertainty. The subconscious mind responds to faith by releasing creative energies that were previously locked away by fear and doubt. It begins working to attract the people, circumstances, and opportunities necessary to transform your definite purpose into reality. But it can only work with the material you give it, and if you feed it doubt, fear, and limitation, that's exactly what it will create in your experience. J.P. Morgan built one of the most powerful financial empires in history, not just through his understanding of money, but through his absolute faith in his ability to identify and capitalize on opportunities that others couldn't see. When the stock market crashed in 1907, creating panic and destroying fortunes, Morgan saw opportunity where others saw only disaster. While the 98% were focused on their losses and paralyzed by fear, Morgan was organizing resources, coordinating with other leaders, and implementing solutions that not only stabilized the market, but positioned him to acquire valuable assets at a fraction of their true worth. His faith in his own judgment and his definite purpose allowed him to think clearly when others were thinking emotionally. This is the practical power of applied faith. It keeps your mind clear and focused when circumstances would naturally create confusion and fear. It allows you to see possibilities when others see only problems, to take calculated risks when others are paralyzed by uncertainty, and to persist when others are ready to quit. But faith without action is merely wishful thinking. The 98% often have faith in their dreams, but lack faith in their ability to achieve them. They believe success is possible for other people, but not for themselves. They have faith in luck, faith in chance, faith in circumstances beyond their control, but they lack faith in the one thing that can actually create wealth: their own organized effort applied to definite purpose. The 2% have reversed this equation. They have little faith in luck and no faith in chance, but they have absolute faith in their ability to create their own circumstances through the quality of their thinking and the persistence of their actions. They understand that faith is not passive hoping, but active believing backed by corresponding action. When you align burning desire with definite purpose and apply unwavering faith to persistent action, you create what Hill called the success formula, a mental and emotional state that automatically attracts the means of achievement. This is not magic or mysticism, it's applied psychology that works as predictably as any natural law. Andrew Carnegie understood this formula completely. He didn't start with advantages that others lacked. He started as a poor immigrant working for $1.20 a week, but he had definite purpose to build the most efficient steel company in America. Burning desire fueled by his determination to escape poverty and unwavering faith in his ability to outwork and outthink his competition. More importantly, he understood that individual effort has limitations, but coordinated group effort has exponential power. He surrounded himself with people whose knowledge and abilities complemented his own, creating what Hill called a mastermind alliance, a harmony of purpose and effort that generated ideas and energy beyond what any individual mind could produce. The 98% try to succeed alone, either because they're too proud to ask for help or too fearful to share their vision with others who might reject or ridicule it. They hoard their ideas like misers hoard coins, never understanding that ideas multiply when shared with the right minds and die when locked away in isolation. The 2% understand that no one achieves significant wealth without the cooperation of others, and they actively seek to create alliances with people who share their vision and complement their abilities. They understand that giving others the opportunity to profit from their success is not a cost, it's an investment that pays dividends far beyond what they could achieve alone. Henry Ford didn't build the Ford Motor Company by himself. He assembled a team of mechanical experts, financial advisors, and marketing specialists whose combined knowledge made his vision possible. Walt Disney didn't create his entertainment empire alone. He surrounded himself with animators, storytellers, and business minds who helped transform his dreams into reality. Every great fortune in history has been built through the coordinated effort of multiple minds working in harmony toward a common purpose. But this coordination doesn't happen by accident. It requires leadership, vision, and the ability to inspire others to commit their best efforts to your definite purpose. This is where the 98% face another crucial test. They want the benefits of leadership but not the responsibilities. They want others to support their vision, but they're not willing to support others in return. They want to receive value, but they're reluctant to give value. They approach potential allies with a scarcity mindset, worried about what they might have to give up, rather than an abundance mindset focused on what they might create together. The moment you shift from scarcity thinking to abundance thinking, everything changes. Instead of seeing other successful people as competition to be feared, you see them as potential allies to be courted. Instead of hoarding opportunities, you look for ways to share them with others who can multiply their value. Instead of protecting your knowledge, you freely share it with those who can use it to create mutual benefit.